Back in 2017, Bruce Maxwell was the first Major League Baseball player to take a knee in protest of racial injustice. It was a gesture he knew would draw criticism, but even he wasn't prepared for the fallout.
There's an older gentleman standing above our dugout, and he said, "F you, n***. You don't deserve to be on that field." I had people threaten to blow my house up. I had people threaten to set my house on fire. I had one person say he was going to track me down and blow my car up while I was driving. I couldn't sleep. I wouldn't answer the phone. I couldn't talk to my parents. It was paralyzing. My lowest moment was sitting in my room. I had a fully loaded gun pointed at my forehead. All I had to do was squeeze. Thought the world and my family would be better off if I was gone.
That was Bruce Maxwell, the first Major League Baseball player to kneel after Colin Kaepernick kneeled. And obviously we all know what happened to Colin Kaepernick in being whiteballed by the NFL. But before those two, there was Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, which you see in the shirt, and Craig Hodges.
One of the greatest players in the history of the NBA was cheated out of his career.
Why did you decide to stop standing for the national anthem?
I became a Muslim, and I began to read more than I've ever read before. But as I'm reading, you know, whether it's foreign policy, domestic policy, I'm seeing America's hand in so much corruption. And then I'm looking also at the history of this nation, slavery and Jim Crow and segregation, right? I can't reconcile standing up for this symbol, right? I just can't.
The reaction in 1996 was swift and violent. Abdul-Rauf was suspended by then NBA Commissioner David Stern. He also received death threats, and the dream home he was building for his family in Mississippi burned to the ground by the Ku Klux Klan.
What did you think that the reaction would be?
I wasn't surprised that was the reaction. Why? Because history has shown, in particular when young or African-American athletes, entertainers, whoever, step outside of the athletic box and speak on something else, you're condemned.
Abdul-Rauf was traded the next season. His playing time diminished. And with teams unwilling to sign him, the once promising superstar was out of the NBA at the peak of his career.
Do you think that your stance ended up costing you your career?
Of course I do. History. You know, not much has changed.
Fast forward, there's a football quarterback who decides he's going to kneel in protest to inequality, police brutality. Did you know what was going to happen to Colin Kaepernick when he started that?
I had a strong idea of what was going to happen because I've read the playbook.
Has the NBA reached out and said, you know what, we were wrong, or we could have handled it differently?
There are people in the NBA who privately, you know, say things. How would you feel if the NBA gave you an apology? Families were hurt. People lost income. Reputations were destroyed, right? And so you just can't apologize and make it all right. No, I care less about the apology.
As we sit here, it certainly seems like you have no regrets.
No, none whatsoever.
Wow.
I didn't know that story.
It's,
Me either.
You know,
Fascinating.
It's a lot of folks in the documentary, by the way, talk about before Steph Curry, Abdul-Rauf, a pure shooter. Pure shooter. Was just an amazing basketball player. And he was at the peak of his career.
Didn't even know his backstory.
Yeah, didn't know any of that.
No, he's a fascinating guy. And by the way, these days, Abdul-Rauf, who lost millions because of his activism, continues to speak out. He lectures around the country. He also trains a few of the league's current players in a documentary, Stand.
We all know what happened to Colin Kaepernick, and people have slowly started to learn about Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. But before both of them, Craig Hodges was blackballed for pretty much the same thing, minus the national anthem. Alright, so boom. Hodges was one of the most skilled three-point shooters of all time. Only he and Larry Bird had ever won 3 consecutive three-point contests. Before the Lakers vs. Bulls finals in '91, he stepped to Jordan and Magic, urging them to boycott in protest of the Rodney King beating. Neither were willing to take that stand. After the Bulls won the chip, of course they visited the White House. Hodges popped out in a white dashiki and handed H.W. Bush a handwritten letter. It basically said how Hodges wasn't feeling Bush's treatment as president of black and poor people. Hodges continued to call on black players, including Jordan, to use their money and influence to do more for the black community. The Bulls would waive him in 1992, despite at the time still being one of the best shooters in the game. His activism has sealed his fate. Give it up for Craig Hodges, who risked it all to not be silent.
And you're probably asking yourself, why now? Well, I thought about it today. With all the opinions that are out there, with all the talking heads, with all the influence that a lot of these guys have, whether it's Stephen A. or anybody else, where's your outrage for these four guys? You know, two of these four guys still have a chance to play in their respective leagues. Colin Kaepernick could still play, but he's being whiteballed. Bruce Maxwell is still good enough as a Major League Baseball player, and he's being whiteballed. Now, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf and Craig Hodges are at peace with their decisions as to why they did what they did. But why has Adam Silver not come out and publicly apologized to these guys? And why have the players of the NBA, past and present, not been more vocal? And why have the players of Major League Baseball, past and present, not come to the defense of Bruce Maxwell? I just don't understand it. So this is a call to action. I hope more Major League Baseball players, past and present, do what they can to help Bruce Maxwell be able to play in Major League Baseball again. And I hope more talking heads and NFL players, past and present, do more to help Colin Kaepernick give it one more go, be given one more shot in the NFL. This is Who to You. Much love.